A Minecraft movie is the newest video game movie adaptation, so today I'm going to be ranking every single video game movie that I've seen. Now, I don't want to include movies with just their plot centered around video games, more so just video games turned films. So let's start off the list with Sonic the Hedgehog. I actually think this is a pretty good movie. I would venture to put it at great. But I think there's another film in specifically this franchise that would go at that tier. I genuinely think Sonic the Hedgehog is pretty awesome. I didn't watch this until the second movie came out around the time of that, and it really just surprised me. This is Jim Carrey at his best in the Sonic franchise, in my opinion. I feel like after this, he became way too goofy and way too silly. I think Ben Schwartz is a phenomenal voice actor for this. James Marsden's in this film. I think this is the best balance of humor and silliness that this franchise has gotten, but I think over time it's kind of just diluted into something else that I'm just not the biggest fan of. And then we have Tomb Raider. This is gonna go in meh with the huge asterisk of I haven't seen this film in a very long time. I think Alicia Vikander is absolutely phenomenal in the lead, though I just don't really remember much of the pacing / plot progression, so I can't comment on that. I really enjoyed the action of this film, though. That really did stand out to me. The set pieces were really fun. I vividly remember seeing this in theaters, and I definitely wanted a sequel to it. Kind of sad we didn't get one. And before we keep going, I did want to let you guys know, obviously I haven't seen every single video game adaptation. Let me know some of your favorites or the biggest ones that I am missing in the comments down below, because I know a lot of video game movies get bad raps, but I still have a lot of fun with them. And then we have Rampage. This is easily going in bad. Like, this is classic Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, massive destruction, them basically trying to compare him to the strength of a gorilla is just insane work. The most absurd stat padding in this movie. Like, he should have died at least 15 times. And then we have Sonic 3. I think this is gonna go in top of meh. I think this is probably the worst of the franchise for me, just because I think Shadow is interesting, but his character really has little to no depth. I think that little girl plot is just not that funny. But I think the worst part of this film is Jim Carrey. Genuinely an eyesore, in my opinion. Like, none of his humor is funny here. It kind of feels everything just dilutes down after the first film, and I think they don't introduce new enough things. But I will say, I think this is the best the films have ever looked. It's like every anime clip I've seen on Twitter come to life, but it's CGI hedgehogs. It's just so cool. I will say this film also felt like it was 3 hours when I watched it last December. I don't know, wasn't the biggest fan of it. And then we have Detective Pikachu. This one's gonna also go in meh, but I'm gonna put it below Sonic 3. I think that the voice cast is fine, but I think the human characters are just so uninteresting, but they do somehow build out a really interesting and pretty fleshed out world for how fleshed out Pokemon can possibly be. I did kind of wish that they went for more of like an accurate relationship and kind of maybe telling a Pokemon video game-esque story, but rather they're just using Pokemon assets and kind of creating their own story from that, which is kind of what they do in the newest film that we'll talk about here later at the end of this video, the Minecraft movie. But I think it works for what it's trying to do, and also the CGI is absolutely phenomenal here. And then we have Mortal Kombat. This was gonna go in the middle of meh as well. Actually, I might put it above Detective Pikachu, because the little action that we do get, I know we don't actually get the tournament in this film, but the little action that we do get is so awesome, and that final fight is absolutely insane. I'm genuinely pretty excited for Mortal Kombat 2 just because of Johnny Cage, Carl Urban. Like, it has the pieces and it can really build off of this movie very well, in my opinion. The story is just, are they going to be able to do it? Are they going to execute? I think this is like the most mediocre first entry, and you'll see a lot of movies here just going to go in meh. Next up, we got Angry Birds. This is going to go in bad. Top of bad. This is like the epitome of just a child's movie, and you'll see I'll talk more about that later in this video. I genuinely think it's just dumb humor. It's just not meant for me. I'm just not the age group for it. And I'm not saying that all video game movies can't be like that. Like, obviously, like, Sonic is the perfect balance, and some of them just go way too far in being dumb fun for kids, and that's kind of what the Angry Birds movie is. And then we have Uncharted. This one's gonna go, I'll probably go near the top of meh, under Sonic 3, but above Mortal Kombat, just because I feel like at least this story is slightly cohesively put together. I think everyone in their roles is good enough. And this is just your most basic National Treasure-esque story, and it's fun. There's been word we'll be getting a sequel for this film since the movie came out, but nothing beyond that. I don't know, Mark Wahlberg is just not very good in this, and I kind of wish Tom Holland at least tried something unique, but it just feels like he's playing the same exact character that he always does. And then we have the Super Mario Bros. Movie. This one hit 1 billion, like, insanely fast. This is gonna go Okay, I'm at a little bit of a middle of the road here because it could go in the middle of meh, like near the top, because it isn't hurt, you know, it is doing exactly what a children's Super Mario Bros. Movie could do. But I also docked Angry Birds for being exactly that. I just think that the Super Mario Bros. Movie is a little more unique than the Angry Birds movie in its exploration of the world. So I think I'm gonna go middle of meh. My biggest problem with the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and I'll repeat this about another movie later, is just the fact that it moves so fast and it genuinely just feels like a checklist of things we need to get done in every single element of this world. So we're only doing plot points that relate to that in the slightest, and we'll just be able to throw some fan service in for the people that love the games, and then also make it just super dumb humor for kids. And then we have Monster Hunter. I'm gonna put this at the top of bad. I actually didn't know this was based off a video game when I watched it, but then I was doing research for this video, looking up lists. This was on there. This movie is genuinely so bad. The only thing that's good about this, and it doesn't even separate from other movies on this list because I feel like every video game movie has this down to a T, at least nowadays. The CGI is pretty good. Like the dragons and the monsters look very interesting and very cool, very well designed. But nothing about this story works. None of the characters work. Nothing is interesting in the slightest. It's just a woman fighting monsters. So we have Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm actually going to put this at good, at the bottom of good. I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I'm not a big Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I've never played the video game, but I'm genuinely so excited for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. This movie was so basic, but so interesting. And I guess since I didn't know much about it, but I had heard so much hype going in, I was just so interested to see what they would do with this world. I think Josh Hutcherson is so awesome in this movie, and I'm genuinely hyped for a Five Nights at Freddy's 2 because they were able to build such a great base world. I love how just like much of a loser Josh Hutcherson is in this film because it makes it actually interesting. Like it makes this really weird world of animatronics something that him exploring it does feel real. It's characters that actually feel like they're going through shit. It feels like there are stakes. And even if it is a basic film on the baseline level, it is at least entertaining in its suspenseful moments. And then we have Gran Turismo. I'm going to actually put this at great. I think there's a little bit of a scale difference here. Like, I wouldn't say this is an amazing movie. It's not a great movie. I'd say this is a good movie. But in terms of video game adaptations, this is pretty damn great. This does the exact job. And honestly, it is the perfect way to merge video games and movies together. Now, I feel like this is also a little bit of a technicality on the rule I put of this can't just be a movie that has its plot centered around video games, because technically he's not in the video game of Gran Turismo. Like, this is based off a true story of the race and this real life guy that went through this whole situation becoming a pro racer because of Gran Turismo. But this movie's so good, I could not put it on this list. Let me know in the comments if you would deduct this film from eligibility. And then we have The Last of Us. This is gonna go in best of best and will probably end up being the only film on there. As you can tell, this is also the only TV show, and I had to keep this on the list just because it is so fucking amazing. Now, I haven't seen Fallout, which I also heard was pretty amazing. I want to check that out before season 2 comes out. And I just genuinely haven't seen many video game adaptations that are turned into TV shows. I know that obviously The Last of Us season 2 comes out in just a couple of weeks here. So excited for that. And this is the perfect evolution of how a video game should be adapted. I can't say this is a perfect one-for-one adaptation. I haven't played the entire game. I played like probably a third to maybe half of it. But I just love everything about this world. I love that they're able to follow storylines, but also add new ones on there. It doesn't matter if one episode is focused on something completely different because you just care and are interested in every human left. This is amazing stuff. I genuinely think if season 2 is good, and apparently they're going to do season 3 and maybe even a 4th season, this could go down as one of my favorite TV shows of all time. And then we have Sonic 2. This is going to go in great. I'm going to go bottom of great though. I think this is exactly where the Sonic franchise peaked, and I think this will be the peak for the foreseeable future. I think the introduction of Knuckles is absolutely perfect, and this is the first time that it feels like we're genuinely expanding the full bar of where Sonic lore can go in films, and I think they do it perfectly. I think the human characters are balanced really well. I will say one thing I love about the Sonic franchise overall is that they know when to use their human characters and when they don't need to, and it doesn't feel like they're using human characters just to cut the budget down and use less CGI. I think this is also another great version of Jim Carrey's performance, but I think this is where we're kind of teetering a line of him doing a little bit too much. I think 2 Jim Carreys was just way too much in Sonic 3, but this, he's still very intimidating, but still very silly. I think his relationship with Knuckles is also perfect, and then the way that we're just able to, I guess, like I said before, expand Sonic lore, but still stay really true to the emotional core of that first film. That's something that I think is completely lost in Sonic 3. But finally, we have the newest video game adaptation, Minecraft, which is for me gonna go at the bottom of meh. Actually, I'd say more middle of meh. I'm at a little bit of a crossroads with this film. If you want to check out my full review, you can find it linked up here in the description down below. But I'm genuinely so frustrated with this movie because it, to me, feels like the biggest cash grab of all time, but also, like, it is such a, I guess, feat, like, visually, like, putting all these characters into this Minecraft world. Everything else about this movie absolutely sucks, but the production design and the CGI and the way that they're able to blend everything together is so good. None of the characters are interesting. This movie is painfully unfunny, and I also think just like, other than the really great moments of CGI, I think the story overall is just so lacking. Like I said with the Super Mario Bros. Movie, this feels like they had a checklist of things to check off for fans, and they only used plot beats and bits that would get them from thing to thing, just so they could check off the boxes and make sure that they get everything from the game, while somehow also focusing so much on fan service that they don't even use the best plot possible. It felt like they were kind of just setting up a sequel by not giving us the best possible story the first time around. This is like the most Warner Brothers cash grab thing I've seen in my entire life, because how do you do one of the biggest video game IPs of all time, but then not use the biggest villain from that IP? It just felt so lazy to me, so cash grabby to me. I'm pained for the future of cinema after watching this film. And I'm not the type of guy to say that kind of stuff. Anyways, that wraps up my ranking of the video game adaptations that I've seen. Again, I haven't seen every single one of them, so let me know your favorite video game adaptation in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.